You're listening to Lighthouse Conversations, brought to you by Lighthouse Haven, a spiritual home for your awakening soul. Lighthouse Conversations is a show where awakening souls gather to be inspired, connected, and enlightened. Spiritual spark plug and host Chelly Canales, that's me, will guide you through the twists and turns of your journey to a safe haven where you are finally free to live your best light. Each episode contains a conversation with a guest who has gone through a spiritual awakening, detailing their unique and life-changing experiences in an intimate and candid way. Although everyone's experience is as unique as they are, we all share one common thread. We're all seeking something. So, come join us on this journey and be prepared to leave with resources that will supercharge you into inspired action. Here's today's episode. Hello, awakening souls. How are you doing out there? I'm not going to lie, my heart is hurting for so many things right now that feels so unbelievable to be going on in the world. And I hope you enjoyed today's episode because it's such a beautiful reminder that even though life wants us to shut down, life can cause us to just back off and say, I just can't do this. Sometimes try to see everything through the love of an open heart. My guest today, Claudia, she is a beautiful soul, and she reminds me of this and also reminds me that before life can get beautiful again, it can get hard. And the main thing we can focus on is how can we heal ourselves to best heal the world? How can we show up every single day, even though it may be really challenging to do that sometimes, and it may seem easier to just shut down, shut off, go away for a while. And sometimes we do need that to recharge, but come back with an open heart. Please know that you are not alone in this. And thank you for showing your light, showing up every day, and helping to transform the world by transforming yourself. Hello, everyone. I want to welcome you to the show and introduce you to my very special guest, Claudia Navone. Her spiritual name is Ishka. And she is here today to talk to us about her beautiful journey in life, her spiritual awakening from ballet dancer to fashion editor to spiritual teacher and channel. Welcome to the show, Claudia.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. I can just already feel your wonderful energy from here all the way across the world. And you're in Florence right now, yes?
I am in Florence right now, yes.
And so I know you travel all around the world, and this is a big part of your many, I think, spiritual awakenings that you've had. Talk me through your journey. I'm just so fascinated by your story, which we'll also talk about more when we discuss your book, Shapeshifter, from A Tale from Glitter to Light, which was an absolutely beautiful read. I can't wait to talk more about it. But first, just tell me a bit about yourself and how you got to where you are today.
Well, it is a very long story. It's been a real journey, and I'm so grateful for it because I would like to share with everyone. We all have to start from somewhere, but the most important thing is not the goal, but really it's the journey. Because it is in the journey that we learn so much, that we can transform. And that happens to, I guess, to everyone that is incarnated in this lifetime. But obviously, if you have a spiritual awakening, everything gets somehow bigger. And when I say bigger, it's intense, basically. It gets very, very intense in a beautiful way, but sometimes before it gets beautiful, it can get a bit hard because when we are awakening, we have to let go of so much. And so my journey has been a journey of believing in so many things in the beginning of, let's say, in the first part of my life before the awakening. And then the second part, which I'm still traveling upon, it's all about letting go. Letting go of so much that I thought it was true before.
Right.
Because when you have a spiritual awakening, and mine was almost violent because I never asked for it. And it just happened one day, basically. And all the veils were lifted. And I did not know for a while who I was anymore. And I believe that this may happen to many others up there who are awakening right now. You know, we believe we are something, but we are not that. We are actually so much more than what we believe we are. So what I'm talking about is that we have all these ideas about ourselves, about other people, about the world, but then, you know, we are just learning through the spiritual awakening that much that we have been learning, it's illusions, because our heart usually is not so open. It's open when we are children. But then, because of life, because of karma, because of lots of different elements, our heart may close. And that is exactly what happened to me. My heart really, really closed down. And when our heart is closed, we see things in a certain way. When our hearts start to open up again through becoming so much more conscious, so much more aware, you know, when we go through this beautiful spiritual awakening, then when we're starting to see everything through love, through the love of an open heart, then all changes. And my journey has been a journey of closing my heart first and then opening back the heart again. And I believe this is not just my journey, it's the journey of all of us, basically.
Yes, absolutely. Wow. And so you're spreading this love and this open heart and this message everywhere you go. You're teaching around the world. And I love that you're in Florence right now, because it brings it full circle to the beginning of where you start your book and how you were trained as a ballerina for so many years. And you thought this was your identity. And even Grace Kelly paid for your ballet lessons in Monte Carlo.
Yeah.
Like, amazing. What an incredible story. But that part of
she
your life,
was beautiful.
yes, tell me more about her.
Well, she was like a real movie star. She never lost that charisma, but she was so kind. You know, she was really kind, and she adored ballet. And the school in Monte Carlo was one of the best ballet school in Europe at the time. I mean, we are speaking of end of the 70s, you know, like a long time ago, but still is a very famous school. And she was the patron of the school. She loved ballet, and it was a very special experience to be there, to meet her at such a young age, and to see her as a human being and not just, you know, this diva, let's say. And she was very kind, and she was sitting many times to watch us, actually, and watch our progress. And she really cared, and it wasn't just a name to be the patroness of the school. She took it very much at heart.
That's beautiful. And you felt very supported, I'm sure, in a lot of ways. And I want to ask you, because I'm a dancer myself. And
were you? Okay.
I am, yes, a lot of musical theater type dancing. And for me,
okay.
Yeah, it's one of the times when I feel most connected to spirit and source, like I'm channeling through that. And I know when you were younger, you had many experiences where you maybe weren't quite sure what you were experiencing, but you had visions or connection with that which was beyond the veil. I'm curious, during that time of your life, did you ever consider art being a part of that kind of otherworldly spiritual experience you were having?
Well, I was so young.
Mm-hmm.
So I started to have all these very prophetic dreams when I was 4 or 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And they came to me like a television series, basically, that I would experience in my own bed every night. And one of these was very specifically of me dancing, like all these visions of past life. And I was dancing as a child,
Mm.
but in all these wonderful temples. And many, many years later, when I had my awakening and I traveled to Egypt for the first time,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of understood finally where those dreams were coming from. And this particular one, and in the super, super old times, there is this amazing temple of Isis
Mm-hmm.
in Egypt, but there were many more dedicated to the sacred feminine.
Yes.
And all the priestesses who were serving the Holy Mother, which is this field of love, basically, called the Holy Mother. She's the
Mm-hmm.
mother of all mother, this incredible energy of the purest love. And the priestesses were serving the Holy Mother, and they were dancing, dancing, dancing in all the ceremony. So I guess that even before my awakening, my life was very guided from beyond the veils, basically, and very, very guided actually from that. Even
Yes.
if I was not truly completely conscious about it. For me,
Mm.
it was just normal. I had these dreams. Yeah, I heard voices.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the beings of light. I had them in my dreams, and I just kind of embrace it without thinking too much about it, which is typical also when you are a child.
Right. And it's wonderful that you had a mother who understood a lot of what that's like, correct? She had a connection herself.
Now, she's amazing. She still does.
She
She's
still
still
does.
alive. And one of the reasons why I love being in Florence in my family home is to be with her as well.
Mm.
Because, she's a certain age now. And, but she's very luminous and she looks
Yes.
much younger than her age. And she still has the most, incredible experiences. And she was extremely open spiritually. So when I was
Mhm.
a child, to grow up with a mother like that made a tremendous difference because she also had an extra sensitivity about everything. And I had a wonderful soul connection with her, and she let me run,
Yes.
let's say, with my guidance. She
Such a
never
gift.
stopped me.
And there, I think a lot of parents maybe who confronted with their child having these gifts aren't quite sure what to do with that. And over time, society conditions them to just not speak up about it or forget or don't allow that connection to come through. So it's wonderful to see when parents are open and nurturing about these very special
Yes,
gifts.
just wanted to say a very important thing. At this precise moment in time, there are a lot of children who are born now or born, a few years ago, who are very special. And they
Yes.
come here with higher consciousness. And
Yes.
it's very important that the parents understand this and they don't block them because they're sent here for a specific reason to help us to awaken.
Yes, and I want to really dive more into that. Before I do, I just want to go through a little bit more on your path. So you were creating in terms of being a dancer, an artist in that way, and you went to another sort of medium that was based on creation and visual and aesthetic, which was the fashion world. And this has
Yes.
been a major part of your life. Talk me through that time.
Well, 23 years of that. It
Yes.
wasn't one day. And again, I guess I was very, very inspired by members of my family.
Mm.
Members of my family that had like incredible taste, were very elegant, experienced wearing the most beautiful clothes. So I grew up looking at my mother, my grandmothers, it was like a very glamorous world
Yeah.
in a way. And I guess for many years I kind of refused it because, my passion was into ballet. But when I moved to London, no, maybe New York, when I was 17,
Mm-hmm.
and I started to socialize more with, like um, um, uh, kind of society people and
Sure.
all of that. And then also London after, I started
Mm.
to develop an incredible interest in clothes. Also, that was the time where my heart was getting like I was closing it.
Right.
So was, I began to wear a mask to protect myself. And I guess that clothes helped me to build an identity, which maybe wasn't my essence,
Right.
but was definitely an incredible experience because fashion is a world of creation,
Yes.
and creation it's wonderful. It doesn't matter how you apply creation, and it's a world filled with very, very gifted people, many, many talented people, and I was very lucky to meet a lot of them, like really legendary character,
Yeah.
basically, from great photographer like Helmut Newton to amazing designer like Yves Saint Laurent.
Mm.
I don't even mention that much in my book in
Right.
details because my book was not about my fashion life. It was really about my awakening, but obviously my fashion life it's part of that. Also is a world of huge egos. And I have to say that in that time I developed my own ego in a very large way as well.
Mm.
We have to be honest with ourselves. So
Yes.
I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the creation, but I became so enthralled with myself, and in my position of fashion editor, fashion director of very important magazine, I started to believe my own self-importance, if
Oh,
you know what I
yes.
mean,
Yes.
and so the ego was quite inflated, and I don't know, I kind of lost myself a bit in that period. So I had great fun with the glamour, with the party, with creating, with working with these wonderful people. So, all of that was feeding me as well. But on the other side, I became so obsessed with myself, obsessed with myself, the way I looked, like all very much in the surface. Everything was surface. And then I became very unhappy,
Mm.
also because one of the things I wanted the most was to have this wonderful, intimate relationship, to
Yes.
be with someone. And my heart was so closed, and I was so much into myself that I could not really love another
Mm.
or not even receive the love of another. And also, I had karma with men. And so I was like a serial relationship
Mhm.
person. I had so many relationships, but I was in search of the perfect love, which of course doesn't exist. I was very romantic and in search of the perfect love. But what I didn't understand was if you don't have an open heart, even love can be a very superficial thing. And I believe I tried to love as I could, but I wasn't very good at it because my heart was very closed, and that caused all the separations, from all these
Yes.
beautiful men, especially 7 men. 7 men. I mean, I had more than that, but those were the important
The key
ones, let's
ones,
say,
right?
the key ones.
That you all gave names
And
from the Arthurian legend, which I loved. That was a
yes,
beautiful way to present them.
yes, because I did not want to expose them,
Right, right.
Some of them were quite well known, and all of that. And it's not a book about that,
No.
it needs to be discreet in that way. And, but so, yeah, because I was so romantic, makes sense to give them the names of members of, like historical, or not historical, but fantasy figures
Yes.
of the Arthurian legends. And yeah, but I'm so grateful to all of them because obviously they were my teachers,
Yes.
but I couldn't understand it at the time. And also I thought I was always right. I was the victim, the one that did everything to love them, and it was very unfair. And you see, that was something that I really needed to learn. I needed to learn about love, basically.
Yes. And these periods of your life, which were so instrumental, I think when you look back and connect the dots on how they actually were perfect to bring you to the next step of your journey, which is the awakening. This previous portion with, I believe it was Life Before Australia, where you had the next journey begin. You called that the waiting room, which I
Yes.
love. For me, I've called mine the hallway, kind of that
Okay.
in between area. And it's all like,
Yes.
you're like, why, when I look back, how do these pieces fit together? This seemed like really painful. And that was so not in alignment with what I thought my life would be. And you look back and suddenly you realize like how everything was in, synchronistic, and everything was meant to be the way it was meant to be. And it brings you to this place where you are able to put yourself in the position of opening your heart during your awakening. Tell me
Oh,
about
yes.
that.
So I left London at the highest of my career
Mm.
when I was the fashion director of the Sunday Times, which is the European version of the New York Times,
Right.
basically. So you can
Wow.
imagine, there were, I don't know, over 1 million readers every week. I mean, it was like a super, super powerful
Mm.
position. But at that time, after I was chasing so much the dream of becoming a powerful fashion editor, finally I got it. And the first things that I asked myself, was that it? I mean, was life all
Mm.
about this? I was incredibly disappointed actually, and very, very unhappy. So I had an opportunity. Well, an opportunity. All happened in a very magical way, which
Mm-hmm.
now I'm not going to go in all the details.
Okay.
But anyway, suddenly I found myself in Australia. Um, because there was a man, especially there,
Mm-hmm.
which I really thought maybe something was going to happen between us. And maybe this man was one of the greatest love of
Yeah.
my life. But of course, I was closed heart. So when I got to Australia, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't connect the way I wanted, and I went into a huge crisis. And it was there that this incredible series of events, of spiritual themed
Mm-hmm.
events, began to happen to me, one after the other. One more fantastic than the others, and obviously they were preparing me for the big bang, but, I did not know that at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of years into my life in Australia, one morning, I was sitting at a cafe close to the headquarters of Harper's Bazaar, which was the magazine I was working for
Mm-hmm.
at the time. I was smoking a cigarette. I was a big smoker.
Mm-hmm.
and drinking a cappuccino when suddenly all the reality around me disappeared. And a new reality came in, and I saw this beautiful figure of light coming towards me, winged being, a beautiful angel. And this angel just told me very plainly that I was about to embark myself on a completely new life, that I would have this incredible spiritual awakening, that I would meet this wonderful teacher that would help me, and all was going to change. So get ready, girl, kind of things.
Yeah.
And 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 then, I don't know, I can't even tell you how long this lasted, but I remember when I came back into myself and the reality, the normal reality, the cafe and everything appeared again. I was like, oh my God, am I going crazy? Did I really see this? Did I really hear that? Of course, part of me knew it was all real because I was already very good friend of another spirit who was telling me a lot of things. And so, I was used to the other side, but
Right.
but that experience was like so drastic, and what the angel told me and everything. And then finally enough, 2 days later, I went to Byron Bay, which is like the Ibiza of Australia, a beautiful, beautiful place. I went to visit my beautiful friend who had a gorgeous property there. And he dragged me literally to this workshop. I did not want to go. I never went to a workshop in my life before, And there I met Koala, Sriyama Koala Phoenix, that then afterwards became my teacher.
Right.
And after 2 days in her presence, I experienced this humongous awakening where all the veils were lifted and I could see the other side as I see this reality. There was no difference.
Wow.
And that was the beginning. And the enlightened masters came to me and they told me, we are your teachers. We always been your teacher. We will be your teacher also in this lifetime. And you will teach with us. I mean, can you imagine? I was the fashion director of Harper's Bazaar. I was very like, who are these enlightened masters? And I had no idea. I never even read a spiritual book in my life. Nothing.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yes, I could see the other side. I had many, many experiences, but I never searched for anything. And suddenly all of these all in one go. So
That's
I
incredible.
remember, I lived 3 months without needing to eat, or sleep, just drink a lot of water, eat super, super little, hardly sleep, because every night was taken by all these visitations. The masters would come, all this ancient life would be revealed so that I could forgive them because they were cleansing me, of a lot of stuff. And then I arrived to such a point where I could, everybody was like, all my friends, the people I was working with, everybody was very worried for me. And they could not understand what was going on. And I could not explain to them because I did not know myself.
Right.
But it was kind of like being Alice in Wonderland, basically, but without really knowing the purpose. And then after these 3 months, I decided there was only one way to do, which was to call Koala, which I met, and go and meet her and just see what she had to say about all of this, because it all happened when I did the first workshop that I ever done in my life, which by the way I really loved,
Mm,
once
yes.
once I received it. And so I went to see her, and she was so beautiful.
Mm.
And I remember I was very agitated. And the first things I asked her was, who are these enlightened masters?
It's a
And
good question.
she started to laugh. And then she said, that's really interesting. And then she asked me many questions. And
Mhm.
after, she invited me to join this amazing school of the Divine University, because Koala is the founder of the Divine University, of which now I am also a mentor and a teacher. And she said to me, I can't answer all of your questions in one go, because it's like
Right.
explaining you the universe. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you have to discover it yourself, she said. So why don't you enroll in this school and begin to find out what what really is going on, which is obviously, is all the expansion of consciousness,
Mm.
understanding how the light body works, and there is a science to the light. And that's what the Divine University really teaches. There is a science to the light. And then also, slowly but surely, finally, eventually my heart began to open.
Mm.
The enlightened masters began to make a lot of sense. And so I had Sriyama Koala as my teacher in a physical body, and then the enlightened masters as my teacher in bodies of light.
Yes.
And that was it. I never turned back. I mean, I had the first 3 years, I wasn't very convinced. It was like dipping in, dipping out. Um, and then I remember I went to Egypt, and that was the turning point, because I had a huge heart opening, and I could not stop crying for months. I
What
would
a
cry and cry and cry.
There's so much packed into a life to go through. That doesn't surprise me, that you
Yeah.
have all that time. Can I ask you, I know you've mentioned before that the Enlightened Masters co-wrote this book with you, and that it's not
Yes.
only just your story and information being presented, it's actually a divine transmission at the same time. I know I felt things, when I read
Yeah.
it. Talk to me a
Yeah.
little bit about that.
So basically, the book was never my idea. The book was the enlightened masters' ideas. And when they asked me to write it, I was like, what? I never wrote anything in my life, like I thought I couldn't do it. But they were like, don't be silly. We are channeling with you,
Right.
like, we are going to open the portals of memories, so it will be very precise and very specific what you're going to write. And we are here with you. We are co-creating this with you, your higher self and divine presence.
Mm.
And so they did. So the book is completely channeled, meaning it has high frequencies. And these frequencies are embedded in the paper or in the audio, like
Mhm.
I've done in audio as well. And so when people read it, when the readers is going through the book, is receiving a big transmissions, basically.
Yes.
And the reader will go as well on its own journey,
Yes.
because the book is a big mirror, basically. Yeah, I received many, many beautiful, especially through Instagrams, many, many beautiful comments from people that made me cry, because some of them felt so much, felt such a change in their life. They understood so much more about their life through my story. And now I know why the masters wanted me to write this book, because it helps people, basically.
Yes,
And maybe it's
it does.
entertaining as
It
well. I
is.
don't
It
know.
it read
I
like a
don't know.
beautiful, lush novel someone might have written, at the same time of being this incredible spiritual book. I just couldn't put it down. And I had so much emotion. I mean, I'm another one of these people that want to reflect back to you. I had tears and I had things that like stopped my heart for a moment because during my journey, there's been so many things that obviously the story's not the same, but I see the landmarks, I see the parallels, and I'm like, oh my
Exactly.
gosh. And I've been waiting for the next step of my guidance for several months now. I had another awakening during this COVID time, and I've been just frustrated that I seem to be in this void, not getting the instruction like I normally do. And this just kind of activated something. And so I feel confident that things are starting to flow again. So it's very
Yes.
powerful. Thank you for writing it.
No,
Them
but
too.
thank you for also being a light worker, you know. I mean, the family of light needs us
Yes.
as much as we need them because they cannot come here and do things. They do them through us.
Right. Yes. And you have such a strong connection to them. And actually, I want to ask you about your impressions of this COVID time and what this means for humanity, because I know you're clued into certain information. I'd love for you to share some of that.
Okay, of course. So we are entering very shortly in 2022 a new age, a
Mm,
complete new age. Is this age of Aquarius? We are finishing with the age of Pisces, which has been for thousands and thousands of years. And we are entering the age of Aquarius. The coronavirus is something that, okay, so in one way, I feel really obviously compassionate for everyone that is dying, that is not feeling well, for all the family of the people that died, for all the people who have lost their jobs. You know, I feel they're all in my heart. I
mm,
really feel the compassion. But we, as the collective consciousness of humanity, have a tremendous karma with the earth
mm.
and with everything in it, with the animals, with the crystal walls, with the plants, with everything, you know, with nature, with everything. And we have been believing, falsely believing, that we are running the show on this planet, that we
Yes.
are the supreme race of this planet. But we are not. We are cohabiting here with all these other species. And we have been not being able since the fall of the great civilization of light, meaning Atlantis,
Mm,
Lemuria, ancient Egypt, Avalon, we have not been able to respect Gaia,
right.
to respect the mother, to respect the animals. And we've been creating a lot of karma with ourselves. And not just with that, we have been creating a lot of karma with between ourselves as well. Because of the lack of love, the ignorance of the heart. So we've been creating wars, famine, the power, you know, taking the power, not sharing resources, all of that stuff. So
Mm,
we have been also very unkind, to say the least, with
right.
also our own species. So this needs to be balanced to prepare us for the new era, which everybody called the Golden Age.
Hmm.
But the Golden Age, firstly, happens within us. So just think that when we are awakening, we are going through a personal cleansing, don't we?
Yes.
So now we're going through a collective consciousness cleansing.
Mm,
And COVID, it's basically part of it. And it will be up to us and how much we're learning and how much as the collective consciousness of humanity, we are ready to embrace love over fear and everything else that goes with it,
Yeah.
to begin to heal ourselves, heal this planet. So, what they've been giving us, like this virus that's so small, this is very, they've got a sense of humor up there, but we believe we are so here, like we own this world, but we
Right.
don't own anything. We are supposed to be the caretaker of this world. So I'm afraid there is a big lesson to be learned by everyone, and by the governments and by the politician. And because, this planet, it's not based on any kind of holistic rules and regulation at the moment.
Right.
It's guerrilla style, isn't it? And so things need to change, but they need to start to change from the inside out.
That's right.
From the inside out. So I don't know if this makes any sense to you.
Yes. It's totally in alignment. Yes. Yes.
And I say this with love because I don't enjoy reading the news and, and seeing how many people are suffering. It's not fun, but then how much are the animals suffering? How much is the earth suffering? So we have to learn to put everything in prospect and be humble and just understand we're just a caretaker of this planet. We don't own it.
Mm-mm.
We don't own it.
Yes. And it can be so overwhelming to see all the negativity, all the people who are violating these universal laws and spiritual laws for their own.
Exactly. Universal laws. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
universal laws.
What I'm seeing is that, COVID has pulled the rug out from under so many people who've never had a spiritual, book read or anything like that, and suddenly are awakening and don't know where to go, where to turn. And I try to focus my work on people who are brand new to all of this, because it's a large leap from never reading a spiritual book to like Eckhart Tolle. Do you know what I mean? And so
exactly.
I feel like we have to open our arms even wider to allow for more people to do that work, because looking inside, having the time to be introspective like that and suddenly realize all the things that are broken, that's a deep, deep hole to fall down. And it's very hard to come out of that.
But we need the deconstruction before the reconstruction.
That's right.
And that is what happened to us.
Yes.
Like I had to go through a deconstruction of my being, to reconstruct myself, aligned to really who I am, which was not that fashion editor or, you know what I mean.
I do.
But now this is like huge, because obviously is humanity. Humanity is going through this. And so everybody, we're all together in this,
Right.
But I don't know, I've got a lot of hope in my heart as well, Like I just, last weekend, I taught in Milano. For the first time, I taught in my country.
Wow.
For the first time, because Italy is a bit maybe close to this new kind of spirituality because of the Vatican, of the Catholic Church, which, influenced this country very, very heavily. But I have to say, I was astonished by the group that I had, that was organized by some people. I mean, it was incredible. They were so awakened, I can tell you. They could all see. They were so awakened. I mean, it was like, okay, beginning with the Big Bang,
Right.
So awakened people are everywhere.
They're lighting up in huge pods. When one person lights up and shows it just activates so many other people. And eventually we're going to hit that critical mass where the world gets it. That's my hope, that suddenly everybody lives and operates from that space of open heart and nurturing the world and caring for one another. And it's beautiful. And I think it's attainable. I want to
Yes, of
ask.
course.
Oh, go
Also,
ahead.
there are all these frequencies raising up from the heart of Gaia.
Yes.
Everything is speeding up. Everything is speeding up. In the very, old times, like even 15 years ago, 10 years ago, the awakening was it took much longer. But
Right.
now there have been so many of us that work to move through the wall of the veils of forgetfulness. So things are happening faster. People are awakening and doing it in a much faster way. Much faster way.
Yes. Oh, I can sense that. And it's a wonderful thing to see. And what I do see a lot of, and I myself included, is that that kind of ancient fear of being exposed for having spiritual knowledge and putting them out into the world. There's that wound that
Yes.
it's not safe to say these things. And more and more I'm seeing people work through that and being brave enough to share their story like you did.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah. I was in fear about writing this
Yeah.
book.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, no, it's great. I'm not in fear. I can be at a dinner party. And I mean, look, I would never say anything if people don't ask me,
Sure.
because I don't want to shove in anybody's throat spirituality. But people, I don't know, somehow they always ask me. And then I say what I have to say. And I never found one person yet who have turned their back to
Yes.
my
Me neither.
conversation. They are all fascinated. At least if they're not wanting to do it themselves, they're fascinated.
And
And
that's beautiful.
they listen, and then you just see something in their consciousness. You see, because
Oh,
we carry the
yeah.
light. We carry
Mm-hmm.
the light. So when we speak, there is always light coming out of us. There is always a transmission, even if you are at a dinner in a restaurant. When you are embodying the spiritual teaching, you don't have the spiritual life and the normal life. It's your life,
Yeah,
and in my life, I never stop passing the light to others,
that's right.
passing transmission to others, even if I don't know them. Doesn't matter.
It just happens because that's who you are and that's how it shows. It just shows up for you. And I think that's an incredibly beautiful thing. People are receiving it sometimes without maybe even knowing they are. And suddenly, like you said, a seed gets planted anyway. And I think this is all just so fascinating. Can I just go back one moment to the virus and ask you, did you receive any information in terms of how long we might be dealing with this as
Oh
a major
God.
problem?
So I don't think so. I really want to come to America, for
Yes.
example. But the enlightened masters told me that probably I'm not going to make it till October, November 2021, which is 1 year away.
Yes.
So, so I guess that I think we're going to have another tough winter probably. Look,
Mm.
hopefully not, but I guess the virus is still here. It's still
Mhm.
very much here. My sister was telling me that he lost some kind of something that makes it a little less dangerous.
Oh.
I'm not a doctor, so I can't tell you what, but I was in Ibiza this summer, and I heard even from this very big doctor who is married to a very good friend. He thinks exactly that. And so both the human beings who are the big doctors and the spiritual beings up in the enlightened realms, they both think the same, that is still going to be around for a little while.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
also it will be up to us as well.
Yes, that's right.
How are we behaving? What are we learning? How fast are we to learn the big lessons as the collective consciousness of humanity? because this is not going to be the end. You
Right.
know, if this virus goes, something else will come. If we are like not very good at receiving, okay, what can we do now? How can we help this planet? How can we be less cruel to animals? You know, and all of these things. um, so it will be up to us. I think things will keep coming till humanity doesn't become a bit more humble.
Yes.
And the
Yes.
government and the
Yes.
politician, they're not only just so concerned about themselves
Mm.
and, but about the people. It doesn't seem like so many governments really care so much for the people.
And it's so
And all,
heartbreaking. Yes.
well, and this stuff is beginning to come up. That's why also we had all the demonstration, the things people getting
Yes.
together. I mean, it's enough,
Right.
all this racially stuff, which is horrible. Um, it's like there is a lot cooking underneath, boiling underneath, because the spirit of humanity, it's wonderful.
Yes. I believe that.
Human spirit is amazing. The human race is actually pretty amazing. But obviously, we have a shadow, you see?
Yes.
So we've been seeing more the shadow than how amazing we truly are. But we are amazing.
We are
Amazing.
amazing. And I
We
see all of
are.
this when I get in my darkest moments, just being overwhelmed by everything and feeling like, why can't I just fix this for everyone? I just go back and I think in order to heal something, you do need to bring it to the surface. And maybe that's why all of these undercurrents that have been just existing and
Yes.
hurting people for so long coming up to be healed. So I've got two questions for you. So as a collective, as this, so much of how we end up through all of this is based on how the individual acts, and what responsibility we take, and what introspection we make, things like that. What do you think is what is the best way as an individual we can help the planet through all of this? And secondly, if you wanted more communication with your guides, with your enlightened masters, even to learn how to communicate with them, if that's a possibility, what would be those two ways to do that?
Well, firstly, we have to become responsible for our own energy, for our own consciousness, for our own karma. So we have to become responsible. That is the first thing that is required on the spiritual path. The spiritual path is not a bed of roses because we have to face ourselves deeply with love. But still, if we want to evolve, we have to be honest and truthful with ourselves and stop blaming others, stop pointing the fingers to others, and really look within ourselves. And that takes a little bit of time.
Yes.
So that obviously I'm inviting everyone to, maybe go and explore the Divine University, who is
Mm-hmm.
offering incredible things, incredible programs, school on the SiriusLibrary.com.
Mm-hmm.
That will be an amazing way to start to engage with energies and explore your own energies, because it's all about exploring ourselves. I mean, and empowering ourselves and letting go of everything that does not serve us. But if we wish to be clear channels to begin to open ourselves up to our higher self, to the beautiful guides that are here for all of us. I mean, the enlightened masters and the family of light love humanity. They
Mm-hmm.
love us. They love us. They want to connect with us. But we have to, learn how to open ourselves up, learn how to open our channel, learn how to open our heart.
Wow.
And
Yes.
and so some discipline in the practice of spirituality is very important, very, very important. Also, very soon, I will be launched by a wonderful platform called In Spirit. And then we've been filming lots of videos, lots of things when I talk about so many things. So hopefully, when it's time, when it's ready, I'm inviting everyone to have a look at that. I will on Instagram. I think I will announce it when it's ready to go. But there are so many ways. But basically, if there is no discipline in the spiritual practice, we cannot connect with our energy body and become a clear channel. We are all channelers, by the way.
Yes.
Every single person in the world is a channeler. Every single person in the world has a higher self, a part of their consciousness on a higher dimension of light that knows the truth, knows the wisdom, knows the love. And we can all access that, but we need to work a little bit on, how to clear ourselves in order to open truly our channel to this.
Oh,
Does it make sense?
yes,
Did I answer
yes.
your
You more than
question? Or?
answered my question, because my next question was going to be, how can people work with you and learn more about you? And you gave us that beautiful upcoming course information, which I'm really thrilled to learn more about. So I will make sure to follow you on Instagram. I will put the links to your social media in the show notes for this episode so everyone can find you. And I highly
Wonderful.
recommend that they do, and that they read your book, Shapeshifter, which can be found at any major bookstore, correct?
It. I think it's in certain bookstores, but it's even easier, and it's the Shapeshifter. And you
Thank you.
can find it easily on Amazon.
Yes,
And
perfect.
and I think selected bookstores as well. But on Amazon, and also there is an audio which is done with my own voice
And
as
that's in
well. So
transmission in itself.
yeah, very, very powerful transmissions. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah.
and I feel this podcast episode is a transmission as well. I'm so
It is.
grateful for you, and it is for your time. This is an absolutely, I cherish having this time with you and you sharing your message with all of my listeners. So thank you, and I'm so excited to see your work coming out in greater numbers.
Oh, thank you so much. And I hope to come to America in autumn
Please, yes.
2021. We will let you know when I come, and hopefully things will be better then.
Yes.
And this
Holding that
first
vision.
part of this, yeah, exactly. This first part of this cleansing will be finished, and we can all go back, to life, but hopefully in a higher way, in a better way, with more love, with more light, with more consciousness.
Yes, and so it is. I can't wait to welcome you here to America, and thank you for being the beautiful light that you are.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me. All my love and light to you and everyone that is going to listen to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia. Thank you for listening to Lighthouse Conversations. If this show resonates with you, it would mean so much to have you rate, review, and share. Don't forget to follow us at chellycanales.com and on social media.